Call of Duty World at War, the somewhat, I only say somewhat, forgotten ginger stepchild of perhaps the most popular first-person shooter series of all time. Despite this, the game is very, very good. The campaign is really dark and brutal, really portraying World War II in an accurate light. The multiplayer is really good, and of course, it created Nazi zombies. So, let's see if we can beat this game using only handguns. This glorified cutscene right at the beginning gives us a nice little nod to how brutal the campaign and all of World War II could actually be at times. On the bright side, not only are we rescued at the last possible second, but we actually start the first mission with a handgun. After saving Private Ryan, we kill some machine gun guys, and we deal with our first bonsai attack. This flash represents the first really big and dangerous bonsai attack, a common theme throughout the game, where our opposition chooses to fight in non-conventional ways. I don't really think lighting gasoline on fire is a good idea, as the fumes can also catch fire. Science aside, we plant some explosives, clear the area with our handgun, there are some other explosions going on, and the first mission is a success for the challenge. The second mission begins with the amphibious invasion of Peleliu Island, where we narrowly escape death and are given the ability to call in rocket strikes. Unfortunately, I don't really think there's a way to get through this part without launching an artillery strike, so the run kind of ends here pretty early on. So I pretty much bit the bullet, or the rocket artillery strike for that matter, and the enemy front line ends up destroyed. One of the coolest parts of this mission is that it contains a very useful Easter egg. By standing in each of these puddles or craters or whatever you want to call them, you can make 4 statues rise from the beach containing ray guns. Even better, the ray gun seems like a handgun to me, so let's use it. This weapon makes the rest of the level quite trivial, and it really removes the need to use the artillery at all. I did decide to give the 1911 a bit of a love tap in the trenches, but that's about it. After clearing the final building, you are told to use the artillery on a couple of Japanese tanks. This may be one of the few times in world history where a handgun was better than a $100,000 rocket artillery strike, though you do still pretty much have to kill everything here to progress. For once, someone actually dies almost instantly from getting stabbed in the chest. The third mission begins with yet another bonsai attack, which is fought off with a handgun. The first bunker area is pretty simple. This death scene nearly gave me PTSD from my veteran run all the way back in 2013, and Flamethrower Guy tripped on tiny Japanese penis. I picked up the flamethrower, but there are apparently explosive barrels in the bunker itself, and blowing them up allows you to forward the game without burning anyone to death. We clear out Knocked, and then we come across this section. We have to destroy a few tanks on the way to the airfield. So instead, I decided it would be more beneficial to go all Travis Etienne on the tanks and sprint to safety. I'm honestly really surprised this ever could have worked. It really doesn't make sense, but it actually does work. I got stuck inside of Roebuck, please don't take this out of context, and I have to say, it's pretty neato Cheeto to see the tanks still alive as the green smoke is popped. Until I realized that there is still one more tank on the other side. Despite my best efforts and a lot of waiting around, this tank must die. 2 is better than 1, unless you're talking about brain tumors or consecutive Alabama football national championships. Because of this, a second tank must die. Another failure, as is tradition. Some Nazi managed to not see my clearly moving head, and Mission 4 Vendetta begins. Reznov does some monologuing, and I am forced to load my sniper rifle. Now initially, I was positive that there was no way to get through here without sniping everyone. However, I've done a bit of research since then, and if you shoot just once and miss everything, the enemies can rush at you, and it's possible that Reznov will kill some or even all of them. So it might be possible to get through this without killing anyone, but I'm unfortunately not really sure. I haven't had the chance to test this particular mission out yet. Next up, the infamous sniper duel. I have a handgun. In real life, a Marine would probably have as good of a chance of pulling off this shot as I would of hooking up with a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader or a Miss America runner-up. Despite a pair of deaths, I somehow actually made this miracle shot on my 3rd attempt. I still can't believe this one. Supposedly, burning alive is the most painful thing a human can possibly experience. After a well-timed rescue, a flamethrower mysteriously exploded, not at all due to me. We then fight our way past a couple more squads of enemies. For some reason, a glitch exists on this mission where if you run out of pistol ammo, if you switch back and forth to the pistol a couple of times, your ammo will randomly refill. I don't really understand this one either. Our comrades eventually get off their lazy asses and clear the building. We then clear a few rooms, and we snipe Amsel with our handgun, first try. We jump into a river, and complete the 4th mission. Now 3 years older and possibly wiser, we get to turn the tables on the Nazis by going to their land and spilling their blood. A good chunk of this mission is simple trench warfare, and we do start the mission with the Russian handgun. I did definitely die a little bit more than I expected for regular, but we still get through much of this mission. Unfortunately, this is another mission that goes in the L column because 4 tanks have to explode by my hand. And no, as far as I can tell, you can't just run past everything. This was a bit of a lie, as technically there is a 5th tank that John Cena's its way out of the barn and must also be destroyed. However, the camp at the end of the mission is nothing special and was featured at the intro of the video and completed using only the handgun. Now we get to this mission. I honestly never could have imagined the amount of pain that this short little mission would bring me. An enemy dropped a Nambu on one of my first tries, only for my heritage to come back and haunt me, and I never got it through natural progression again. So, my stubborn and determined booty hole decided to try and replicate that drop by shooting people in the leg. After 10 or 15 minutes, I did finally manipulate a dying man into pulling out his special item, and then I had to kill myself after killing a bonsai attacker without a handgun. We eventually defeated the first mortar crew, and on the rare occasions I could actually find a handgun, my cheeks were simply clapped by more bonsai attackers. If their goal was actually to demoralize enemy forces during World War II, they sure as hell accomplished it during this particular stream. Each checkpoint was sweeter than my 3-ingredient chocolate cake, but in all seriousness, the checkpoint system can be pretty terrible in some parts of this game. After receiving more stab wounds than I've had dates in real life, we begin our approach to the final tunnel. It was as fun as you'd probably expect. Imagine drinking a combination of hot sauce, mayonnaise, and carrot juice while butt-chugging 3 shots of vodka and stepping on a pile of Legos all at the same time. That's probably about accurate. But by some miracle we were able to adapt, improvise, and overcome, and this mission actually should be possible handgun only if you get a lucky drop. I just wasn't really that lucky. Now we're on Relentless. Same shit, different setting. I got a pistol pretty early, and the first section wasn't too bad. Getting to the caves actually wasn't as bad or as tough as I expected. The flame tank did a lot of the work for me, and then we enter the close quarters death trap section. Despite a constant low ammo problem, this really wasn't that difficult of a mission, surprisingly. Never in my life did I think I would say Relentless was easier than the flamethrower mission we just did. Both are marked as questionable, neither really had a section that required a non-handgun usage, but it all really comes down to whether or not you can find one with consistent ammo throughout the mission, as well as not dying every 5 seconds. Initially, I was so exhausted and annoyed after those 2 missions that I decided to just play through Blood and Iron pretty normally, assuming it would not be possible to get through without shooting. But to my complete surprise, it is actually 100% possible to beat this mission without firing a single shot, as shown in the video linked in the description. I suggest you watch the entire thing because I was pretty proud of this accomplishment, even though it had to be done on Recruit. So, of the first 8 missions, only 2 were completed handgun only. 3 were either questionable or possible, but not done on video, and 3 were not possible. Not a great way to end the first stream compared to the previous Call of Duty games. We begin the second stream with Ring of Steel. I was worried about the building full of Panzerschrecks or whatever they're called, but you only have to kill a few of them to progress, and you do start with a handgun. The whole courtyard section was pretty easy to do handgun only. The asylum is pretty intense, but totally manageable. And the final section does expect you to get on a tank and shoot its machine gun, but this is entirely unnecessary. So this was definitely a positive start for the second stream. Mission 10, Eviction, is another relatively straightforward close quarters level. This radio was glowing, or texture was glitchy. I found a German pistol at one point, so I had dual pistols, and we eventually get out into the streets. After committing clear Geneva Convention violations, we enter the hardest part of the mission, the metro. This area is pretty tough, as the lights flash on and off periodically, and there are probably 100 or more enemies to deal with. This took a good 15 minutes and a few deaths to get through. The rest of my unit does manage to hold off the Germans. We then take a pleasant swim in the whirlpool section of the wave pool, and another mission is actually successful. Next up we have Black Cats, the second vehicle mission and one of my personal favorites. Unlike Blood and Iron, I really did try to get through this mission without killing anything, but I got hung up by the PT boats at 1 or 2 points. Later on though, I actually did come back to this on Recruit, and what do you know, it's actually possible to beat without killing anything. Once again, I suggest watching the whole video linked in the description that proves my success. I was definitely surprised. Blowtorch and effing Corkscrew. One of the worst missions in the game on Veteran, and we don't even get to start it with a handgun. I shot one guy in the leg, and he eventually ended up dying and dropping a handgun, not that it was my fault he died from a leg shot. The next area involves a slow crawl forward while throwing C4 into bunkers to blow them up. Surprisingly, you can actually kill all the enemies in the first bunker before destroying it, and then throw in the C4. The second bunker actually met the same fate. Unfortunately, I did completely run out of ammo at the third bunker, and had to destroy it while there were still a few inhabitants left inside alive. I finally end up getting another Nambu pistol, then began the horribly tedious process of clearing the final bunker. The issue of excessive grenade spam and lack of checkpoints rears its ugly head once again, and when I finally did end up with a checkpoint, I had no ammo left, or almost no ammo left. To clear the very top, climb the ladder, throw in a smoke grenade, drop back down, and follow your squad on the outside path. It actually worked, and of course this last little bitch ironically decided to drop me a useless handgun. This mission is technically possible to get through without killing with the non-handgun as best I can tell, but it's gonna require a lot of luck with weapons drops. Breaking point is really more of a breaking point for the challenge compared to the actual difficulty of the mission. You can sprint past the first entire battle with a well-placed smoke grenade, but if you don't kill the bonsai attackers in the tunnel, you are always guaranteed to be killed, so this mission is pretty much a failure already. The next hill is a simple but tricky enemy gauntlet, and then we come across the Mortars. I cleared one of the pits with the mortar since I had already failed the mission. I then used the Type 100 for the same purpose. I also used the M1 carbine for a few seconds, and I was eventually able to advance after quite a few deaths, honestly. The whole next section can basically be sprinted through. The building is nothing special. I did end up using the SMG at one point after running out of handgun ammo. Someone here didn't attend grenade or bomb defusal class, and we arrive at the final American battle. While you can stay alive and kill enemies in the corner, you have to use airstrikes to destroy 2 buildings. I'm going out on a limb and saying that those airstrikes probably killed at least 1 enemy, so I really don't see any way of getting through this entire mission using only a handgun, so it's getting marked as a fail. Now, we're off to Heart of the Reich, probably the most infamous mission of the game on Veteran. It's harder than the hardness of many other hard objects and levels currently existing in this world. The first section actually isn't too bad despite the lack of a handgun, and then we have to destroy 4 flat guns with C4 or rocket launchers. Technically, the explosions don't always kill anyone. This next area is a lot of running back and forth across the battlefield until your squad actually decides to kill enough enemies to advance the game. It's nothing too unbearable, but it did take a god-awful amount of time. I finally located a handgun, lost it thanks to a grenade, got another one after wounding someone. More grenade spam resulted in death. Rinse and repeat, until I mercifully got a checkpoint. And now, the final push into the Reichstag. Actually, despite about 5 deaths and the pretty limited amount of ammo, we did manage to slowly advance toward the entrance. A pillar falls, Chernov gets cooked to medium well, and I'm marking this mission as questionable since it technically comes down to the luck of getting a handgun and blowing up the flat guns without killing someone in the explosion. We finally get to start another mission with a handgun. What a relief. I actually also managed to find every single death card during this playthrough. If that says anything about my gaming skills, I'm sure it doesn't. We provide some pistol firing support from the balcony, enemies spawn on the opposite balcony, the Germans have a few different flamethrower accidents, and we progress after killing a set number of enemies in this section. I burned to death at least once, slowly crawled my way forward. I once again let the squad kill most of the enemies, and we begin the final push to victory. I got a very lucky, well-timed ammo drop, advanced at the pace of a snail that got run over by a spaceship, picked up the flag, took a gunshot wound like a man, planted the flag, and no, we did not beat Call of Duty World at War using only handguns. In the end, of the game's 15 missions, 6 are 100% totally doable handgun only. 5 are questionable for one reason or another, or possible even if I wasn't successful on stream. And as best I can tell, only 4 are actually completely impossible. So while the minimum success rate is 40%, it could really be bumped all the way up to 73.33% if all the questionable missions were considered to be possible. Currently, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare Remastered has the highest minimum completion rate, followed by Modern Warfare 2 and World at War, but all three actually have pretty similar potential maximum completions. Despite some difficult areas, this run was really a lot of fun. World at War is a great game that deserves a lot more credit than it gets to this day. The run started out with a lot of failures, but the second half really made up for a lot of those early problems. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, favorite, share, and leave a comment. Subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't already, and I'll see you for more challenge runs in the future.